Hi, I'm Megan Price, and welcome to the NBA Carousel, a Sideline Sports Network production proudly sponsored by Score, No Score app, available for download in Apple and Google Play Store. Also sponsored by Manscaped, and check out the Inscriber online magazine where you can get all your culture, technology, and sports news provided by Sideline Sports. But let's jump right into the show. First, we have Jordan Long covering the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets this week. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Megan.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Awesome, awesome. So I know it's been a pretty interesting week for Denver. They went 2-2 with a really weird game against the Clippers. Very low scoring, 85-87, with the Clippers coming out on top. Let's talk about that game real quick and just kind of break down real quick what you think happened.
Unfortunately, we were ahead in that game as much as 20 points, and we just stopped playing. I don't know what happened with our offense, but we just stopped playing. Got outscored by 53-26 from 7 minutes into the third quarter of the fourth quarter, but it was just disappointing all around. We had a big lead and we saw it evaporate, and the second unit, and it's been the story for the Nuggets for the season is, when Jokic goes off the floor, Aaron Gordon goes off the floor, that second unit cannot stay afloat, and that's basically what happened.
All right. Well, and then the next day or on Thursday, you guys turned around and blew out the Trailblazers. You then turned around and blew out the Lakers, but then struggled against the Jazz. So let's talk about the game with the Lakers.
Well, the interesting thing is we know they didn't have Anthony Davis, but
Right.
they still have one of the best shooters in the game in LeBron James and Russell
Right.
Westbrook. But the fact of the matter is Jokic didn't even play in the third quarter, which was nice to see. He had a triple-double of 17 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds. So this game was over in the third quarter. But what I liked was actually seeing Bones Highland come out and play. He actually had 27 points off the bench, and that was pretty key for the Nuggets. But I will say it was the bench points. Of course, we saw Bones Highland with 27, but 57 points from the bench to the Lakers 32.
Oh, wow.
And actually what actually helped the Nuggets was the outside shooting. 23 threes made to the Lakers 10. So that was pretty much the difference. It was the outside shooting. And we've seen the Nuggets be hot and cold in that area, but they were finally on against the Lakers. And I think they just came to play because it was the Lakers and the fact that the Lakers were, behind them in the standings.
Absolutely. So coming up, though, you guys play the Clippers again on Wednesday, and then you follow up and play the Grizzlies on Friday. That's going to be an extremely tough game. As we know, they're pretty hot right now. And then on Sunday, you finish off your week actually with a back-to-back Sunday and Tuesday with the Pistons. You play one in Denver and then one in Detroit. Talk to me about this week and what you think your expectations are for your win-loss record.
I think it just depends on how we come out. I mean, we've seen them play pretty hard against, a Jazz team, or not a Jazz team, a Lakers team. It just depends on how we come out. Could we get a couple of wins? Yeah. But this is such an up and down team. And I think it honestly comes down to the second unit. So could I see a couple of wins? Yeah. They could also be all losses. It just depends on how the Nuggets come out.
Right. And then also with that back-to-back with the Pistons, we know that recently, last week, we saw them decline a trade of Bol, who is now back with Denver for the moment. So that might be a little interesting. Do you think Bol will play at all, or do you highly doubt that?
I doubt it, just because for whatever reason, even before the trade was declined, there was talk of us trading him before that, and he doesn't get into the rotation. Of course, DeMarcus Cousins was supposed to sign with the Nuggets. I don't know what's going on with that, but I don't think there's a chance that Bol plays, just because Mike Malone does not like to have him in the rotation for whatever reason, even though that we do need size. He puts in either Jeff Green or JaMychal Green. He doesn't like to put Bol, and I don't know if it's because of what he does in practice or the fact that he's not studying. I've heard things that he's just not interested in playing basketball with the Denver Nuggets. And I don't know if that's because some beef with Mike Malone or the organization. I don't know, but I don't see Bobo really playing. If he does, maybe that's a spark, but I just don't see it.
All right, well, let's slide over to the Suns, who beat the Raptors on this past Tuesday, 99-95. Beat the Pacers on Friday, 112-94, and then beat the Pistons yesterday, 135-108. So a pretty big blowout. Anything stand out of these three games?
Well, honestly, if you look at the Toronto game, that was a closer game than I expected. We were down 71-69, came back to win 99-95. I guess there was some beef because Toronto does not have fans in their arena. There was some beef between Devin Booker and the mascot. The mascot was I'm sitting there going, if the mascot is really doing that and distracting you, how soft are you? But I'm not saying he's a soft player, but I'm just glad we won that one. And then Indiana blew them out. But I will say, though, for them, Sabonis, double-double, 14 points and 14 rebounds, and Justin Holiday led them with 25 points. So it was nice to see that win. And then, of course, against Detroit. I mean, Detroit's just a young team. I do like what Cade Cunningham did. He led them with 21 points. And the bench honestly came to play. If you look at Payne and McGee, they both had 20 points, and that was pretty much the difference is the fact that we had that many points from them. But I will say that their bench, the Pistons bench, young team, they had 55 points. So that's pretty impressive by them.
Right, absolutely. Tonight you guys play the Spurs. Then Thursday you play the Mavericks. Saturday you play the Pacers, and then Monday you finish out your week playing the Jazz. Pick a game that you think is going to be the toughest game.
Utah. The only reason why I'm saying that is I saw them last night against the Nuggets, and great shooting team. They've got Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gay, and of course Rudy Gobert down low. So it'll be a battle between DeAndre Ayton and Rudy Gobert down low just to get those rebounds. And if we cannot stop them from second chance points, that's really going to hurt. And Dallas is tough just because of Luka Doncic, but really I'm looking at Utah as the toughest game.
Okay. All right, Jordan. Well, thank you so much for covering both teams for us this week. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you. And we will see you back next week.
Sure will. You can find me at Twitter at SportsScoop1. You can read my blog at sports-scoop.com. And, of course, find me here on the NBA Carousel on Mondays covering the Phoenix Suns and or the Denver Nuggets.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Will Vogel covering the Charlotte Hornets. Hi, Will.
Hey, Megan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So, big news for the Charlotte Hornets. They swept the Milwaukee Bucks, champs. How does that feel?
It was shocking.
It was shocking,
crazy.
Right? Yeah.
It was good. I was expecting only. I'm sorry?
I said, especially with the numbers that Giannis has been putting up over the last few weeks. Like, that's just pretty shocking.
It's insane. Exactly.
All right. Well, talk to me about the games that you had this past week.
So, as you brought up, we beat the Bucks. Bridges had double-double. Rozier had 27 points and Ball had 23 points. So, that was really good. Awesome. Scoring all around. We played the Sixers. We won. Gordon Hayward had 31 points. Rozier had 22. Bridges had 21. Our field goal percentage was 51.7%, which is great, over 50%. Our free throw percentage was 87.5%, which is also nice. Over 70 in my eyes is always good, or over 60. And Absolutely. Then I went to the Magic game. Unfortunately, we lost. And we should have beaten them. Like, every team deserves to win against a good team, but like, I think the thing that hurt us was we let them stay within us the whole game. Like, either we were up 2 or they were up 2, back and forth and back and forth. But we ended up losing, I think, by like maybe 9. and we let Mo Wagner score 26 points off the bench, and they had had a 51.7 field goal percentage, which is not fun. They were just killing us. Mo Wagner, especially off the bench, like I said, having 26 points. Even though Ball had 23 points, Bridges at 20, Rozier at 19.
Just wasn't enough. And then you guys actually played the Knicks today, and let's see, it's final 97-87 came out victorious on that. Congratulations. And this week coming up, you guys will play the Celtics in Boston on Wednesday. You will play OKC on Friday, and then Sunday you will play the Hawks. Talk to me about this Celtics matchup, because you guys have exchanged players several different times. So that, part of their roster is now a part of your team. Part of your team was a part of their team. So it's always kind of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, quick note about the Knicks. Bridges had 38 points, which was his career high. And Ball was out with a non-COVID illness. But Oubre missed all of these games, Bucks, Sixers, Magic, Knicks, because he's in health and safety protocols. But like you said, the Celtics matchup, that's actually on ESPN. It's an ESPN game, so it's kind of cool to see the Hornets get recognition. But it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be hard fought to the end. You're going against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who are both really good players in their own rights.
Right.
But it'll be a hard fought game for sure.
Absolutely. And then you finish out your week with Atlanta. What do you think about how their year is going in comparison to y'all's year?
They've had a really iffy year, Atlanta. It's been through ups and downs. For our year, we're having a great year. We're fully healthy for the most part. Most teams know like really long-term multiple injuries that players are out for multiple weeks. Right. That's another game that could go either way. The only few players I'm scared of on their team are Collins, Capella, and Trae Young. But other than that, I think we can win that game.
And I want to, just shoot this out here. I kind of heard some rumblings this week that Collins was not happy in ATL. And so we might see.
He is not.
Right. So we might see a trade before the trade deadline. And it's normally, the trade deadline is normally after the All-Star weekend, but this year it is before. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming really soon. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, Will, and good luck on your games this week.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're going to go 2-1 this week.
Awesome.
Mark it down.
Okay.
Or 3-0.
Okay.
You guys can find me here on Monday nights covering the Charlotte Hornets and sometimes the Utah Jazz. You can find me on the Sip-Off, and you can also find me on the Gauntlet.
Thank you so much, Will. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep who's going to be covering two teams for us. We have Steve Shawanda covering the Brooklyn Nets and the Wizards.
Hey, Megan.
How are you?
Oh, lovely. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Man, let's start with Wizards because they're so hot right now. Kyle Kuzma is hot.
Well, and the whole team is hot right now, beating Philly
Definitely.
up, 117-98 today.
Yes.
Game with obviously the holiday for Dr. King. So yeah, they had a 3:00 Eastern tip off. So that it's a game that's actually done before we're talking instead of as we're talking, it's going on. So that's kind of cool.
Right.
But and today though it was a balanced scoring effort. They had 7 guys in double figures. Kuzma did have 15 points and 16 rebounds. But Bradley Beal only had 13, but Harrell had 18, KCP had 14. Just so when you have 7 guys in double figures, Joel Embiid 30 something, he had a big game for Philly, but pretty much nobody else did anything for Philly. And Washington was able to get a really big win, and it's an important win because, like you said, Kuzma's been on fire. In January, he's averaging 25, 12, and 4, basically.
Awesome.
When he was averaging about 16 and 9 going into that month of January. And it doesn't get any easier though for as they play the team that we'll be talking about in a second, the Nets on Wednesday.
Right.
and then they got the Raptors on Friday, Boston on Sunday. So, not any easy games, obviously. Not that there should be any easy games in the
Because
NBA.
Raptors have heated up over the last 2 weeks. We've seen Siakam really play well. We've seen Van Fleet play really well. So, watch out for them because that could be crucial for sure.
Yeah, because right now we're starting to see the gaps of the top 6 in the East, and then 7 through 11 is kind of close, and then obviously after that you're pretty much just lottery preparing already. But and really the top 6, I still need to see the Cavs because right now they're in that top 6.
Right.
Obviously,
and then they had a game today that they were victorious on as well. So that's also a team they've had some injuries. I don't think any of us really anticipated them even being this competitive. We knew they had some good pieces.
When Colin Sexton got hurt,
right?
It was when that happened. I personally, I'll admit it. When that happened, I was like, "Hey, they had a great start to the year. It's a fun story, but they're gonna fall off." And they still might, but so far, they're hanging in there. But because the Wizards are at 9 right now, but they're basically back of being 7. So half a game now. So you can make up that 7 to 11 is very close together right now, and we saw how important that is, obviously, to try to get 7, 8, 9, or 10 to get in the playing game, because then you give yourself a shot to still make the playoffs. Even if you're technically the 10 seed, you technically you can become the 8 seed. So
absolutely.
And if they and Bradley Beal's not normally going to score more than 13, so I think this is a really important stretch for them. But yeah, Kuzma's been balling out, which is great to see. I personally have known him since he was a freshman in high school at Flint School that doesn't even exist anymore. And before he went to prep school and then to Utah, and then obviously, we all know his NBA path. But so it's great to see him have a little bit of a green light and be able to do the things that he wants to do. But we'll kind of know, because right after obviously Philly today, Bucks, Raptors, Boston, then you got Clippers, Memphis, who's red hot, and then at the Bucks, at Philly. So, you have yourself a really tough stretch here these next 8 games or so. That really, if you could just go, I mean, they've been 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, they're right around, right 23 and 21 right now, so they're right around 500. So if you could go 5-5, 6-4 in each 10 game window, if you will, really, you're going to be at least giving yourself a shot to be in the playoffs.
Right. Well, let's slide over to Brooklyn. We heard some news today, and I don't know if it's a rumor or if this has actually come out of James Harden's mouth, but he's interested in possibly leaving Brooklyn next season. And he has listed the Sixers as a possible destination. Like I said, I don't know if this is just a rumor, if this is, trade deadlines, but it was, what I read was next season. So let's talk about them.
There's always going to be drama with that situation. It never, and it's on them. I mean, they decided to do it. They just, to play with each other, to get together and do all that thing. So there's nobody to blame except them. But and you're seeing it with the Lakers too. And I know, again, you want to play with your friends, we want to play with our buddies, blah, blah, blah. And Durant and Harden have played together before. But when they played together, Harden was a 6th man. Harden averaged points a game. He wasn't the Jay that shot 35 times a game for the last 8 years in Houston. So it's a much different situation, and it's not a video game. It's not fantasy sports. There's only one ball, and especially in the next. I know I harp on this a lot, but especially in the next case, you have a coach who has no idea what he's doing. Steve Nash is completely, and it's not his fault. I'm sure he's a great guy. Obviously, he knows about basketball, but you don't have a young rookie head coach take over a veteran win now team. You just don't. We saw it here in Michigan when they tried to make Michael Cooper, or no, who was it? Yeah, it was when Larry Brown and then they tried to bring in some young coach to coach Sheet and all them, and you're just like, they just played with them 2 years ago. They're not going to listen to him. You're just putting him in a position to fail. So, and then of course the interest, AD is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Kyrie only in basically half their game.
Right.
So James Harden kind of has to go back to being Houston Harden. And
Right. Yeah.
successful. And Houston was successful in the regular season with him doing that. So during these next 4, 5, 6 weeks, the Nets can definitely, I mean, they're a half game, or they're a game out now because they lost today. So they're a game out of first place in the East. So it's not like they're, at 500 or something. So if they can just kind of stay afloat here these next couple of weeks, obviously they still have the talent to put it together, but it's just, it's just a very bad basketball fit because both Kyrie and James Harden are better with the ball in their hands. Also Lakers, both Westbrook and LeBron are better with the ball in their hands. It doesn't work out. Like, you need to construct your team a little bit smarter. And
today, like specifically today, we see how important KD was because they had Kyrie, they had James Harden, but they didn't have KD, who's been healthy this entire season until now, which is a feat in its own for him. And we see how important he really is to that dynamic.
And they lose to the Cavs. Where they had a lead going into the fourth quarter and lost the fourth quarter by 8 points, and you lose the game by 7. So, and by the way, Kyrie Irving, he had 27, 7, and 9, but he was 12 for 23 from the floor. Like he shot 23 times. James Harden shot 12. He was 5 for 12. So if you're talking about rumors coming out of Harden not being happy or whatever, Kyrie Irving taking twice as many shots basically as James Harden
is not going to help the situation.
Probably not going to help the team chemistry so much. So, and that's the thing. They're both kind of alpha males that are used to, at least if nothing else, being the number 2 option, never being the number 3. Now, obviously, with Durant gone, they're 1 and 2. Though sometimes Harden's by himself when Kyrie can't play. So they're really, and that's the funny thing, like we said, they're at Washington on Wednesday. They play your Spurs on Friday.
Right.
They go to Minnesota on Sunday, who has just enough talent to beat you. And then they have 2 home games. They only have 2 home games left before like February 8th. And those 2 home games are Lakers and Denver. And then they go on a West Coast trip of Golden State, Phoenix, Sacramento, Utah, and Denver. So you're in a situation here that if you can't get that Washington game Wednesday that Spurs game Friday, and I guess Minnesota game Sunday, you're in a position where you might be looking at about 7 games where you might go like 1 and 6. And those are the things you can't have. It's okay if 2 in a row, or you go 7 and 3 in a 10-game stretch, but they've lost 16 games. 16 games all year, and they're 3 and 7 in their last 10. So that kind of tells you, where they're at a little bit. So not time to panic for Brooklyn Nets fans, but it's definitely very concerning because KD, obviously, let's face it, he was playing like the MVP. So
yes, absolutely.
You don't just replace 29, 8, and 6 overnight. So it's definitely a problem for him. So maybe not next Monday. I don't want to talk about the Nets, but 2 Mondays from now we'll talk about the Nets, and we'll see where they are because they got a big couple of weeks coming up.
Most definitely. Well, Steve, thank you so much for covering both of them. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and good luck on both of those teams' games because it looks like it's going to get interesting.
It is going to be interesting. It's fun that they play each other on Wednesday, so that works out really well. But the easiest way to find me either on Twitter, all eyes on the letter U Hoops, or SBN1720. And then obviously, because why would you not watch the NBA Carousel every week, hosted by the hostess with the mostest, Megan Price. And I'll be talking about any team that she tells me to.
Thank you so much, Steve. We will see you next week.
Have a good one.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to a big Spur rival. We got Jay Nelson going to be talking Houston Rockets, Spurs basketball.
Now, I believe sometime last week, 2 cities with basketball teams connected by Interstate 10 played a basketball game.
It was a really, really good game until the very last few seconds. It just, and I got to say, good game. Congratulations. You guys came out on top. It was an incredibly close game. And it was just a hard fought battle of 2 really young teams.
It's like the Joker told Batman at the end of Dark Knight, I think we're destined to do this for a long time.
Right.
It's just, it's vintage though when you watch stuff like this, because you it's like going back to the 90s when the Rockets won there too. But who was right there? San Antonio. And then when San Antonio had their run, and who was right there was Houston. Like, even though, and it's great how both are essentially rebuilding franchises and can still deliver the classics like of old. And I mean, I'm appreciative. Yeah, we rival with y'all, but I'm appreciative of it, because I mean, let's face it, you had Spurs fans throughout times that can't help but like Hakeem. Just like Rockets fans can't help but like Duncan, can't help but like Robinson, But going to the game in general, Murray, that dude is the future, just to let you know.
He really is.
If nobody else don't tell you, that boy's the future. He had 32, El Walker had 11, Forbes had 21 off the bench, so letting him go off and keeping it close, but you got Wood doing Wood things, 23 points, 11 rebounds. Green had 14. Once again, it didn't take him long coming back from that injury. KPJ had 18. He was 3 of 5 from 3-point range, but most definitely, who I felt the best player on the court was Eric Gordon. He had 31. Get this, 9 of 10 from field goals, 6 of 7 from 3-point range. It's kind of hard to stop a team when you got somebody over there going off like that. Now, on the other side of the fence, the reason why the game was so close is because Murray put up 32.
Right, he had a triple-double, and that triple-double actually put him in lead for the franchise player with the most triple-doubles. He was tied with Duncan at 6, and then he surpassed him.
And surpassed him, yeah, absolutely. DeJounte Murray, it was like I said, y'all are in good hands. I know there was a whole Kawhi Leonard thing going on, and that didn't work out. Then DeMar came along and such, but Murray's the truth.
I really enjoy watching his development that he's had. Probably the same way, you enjoy watching Jalen Green, and that's this year. But just even having Christian Wood over there, he's been a lot of fun to watch too. So I feel the same way about Murray. And in that game, Bryn Forbes, who we drafted him. He went on to Milwaukee last year, won a championship, and then came back. He was the next highest scorer. He had 21 points, and then Keldon Johnson had 18 points, and which we know Murray, Lonnie Walker, which Derek White didn't play, it looks like, and Keldon Johnson. Those three together, they're friends. They have good chemistry. Like, you can just see it on the court, like they're having fun with each other. So I really enjoy watching them as their young core.
Absolutely, and with because it is some big, huge shoes to fill. When it comes to the old big three. But I think if during their run together, they can win one championship, that'll still solidify them in Spurs lore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like with the Rockets, I don't expect Wood to be Hakeem. I don't expect Jalen Green to be Kenny Smith or anything like that. Right. Jalen Green's a highlight reel. He is a future human highlight reel. I just think, he's got to be refined. He's a rookie, so that kind of goes without saying. KPJ, Green, and Wood, those are the three right there. Regardless of what happens with the Wall situation, in which he's pretty much all but gone, but I think Houston has found their big three. And Eric Gordon, absolutely, he's going to be the veteran presence. He's, not old, but he's going to be the veteran presence, and he's been stepping up. He's been stepping up big. And, we've got no Harden, we've got no Westbrook, we've got all that didn't work out. But Gordon has definitely been doing this thing, keeping it close and everything. And then we beat the Kings the other night, and so just the things that's coming out from this team is I still feel that they are still exceeding expectations even by a little bit. At one point in time, people had us not even winning 10 games. We were on pace for like a 7-game finish at one point, and then we went on that 7-game winning streak. You see what I'm saying? So I think the Rockets are still surpassing expectations. Steven Silas, no Steven Silas, this doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about this before, but I like Steven Silas personally. You do have an interesting week coming up. You got the Jazz on Wednesday and then Golden State on Friday in Golden State, in San Fran. So, they're riding high right now. San Francisco beat Dallas. So, just kind of even that city, just the chemistry that's going on there, the vibe that's going on there, that's going to be tough. And we already know that Golden State is just one of those teams that they're in the number 1 seed, and they go back and forth between the number 2 seed and the number 1 seed. And we just know what caliber they are. Like when you look at Golden State, like even with the East, Golden State's probably the best team in the league,
Right. Absolutely. I think out of those games, I know it's, we're essentially cannon fodder for both teams, both of them are going to look at us like, okay, that's just roadkill to see if we can get one more win above the other to help our seeding and whatnot. But I believe in, I don't believe in moral victories, but I kind of have no choice here. If we can hang with both teams, it's still a bright spot for the future. If we somehow can pull an upset, that's going to raise some eyebrows.
For sure.
And it would be actually saying more about, it's still a lot of season left, but it's going to be saying more about the other team than probably the Rockets, honestly. I can just see the media right now. It's like if we happen to steal a win over either one of them, it's going to be less of what the Rockets did right and more of what they did wrong.
Right. Yeah. Understandable. But if you can shake that win like that, yeah, definitely ruffle some feathers. And then we will see this matchup again. It will be in Houston this time next Tuesday. Spurs, Houston, back at it again next Tuesday. So we won't be able to talk about it next week's show, but we will be able to talk about it the following week after.
Oh yeah, we're still gonna bring this up, Megan. We're gonna bring it up. Even if we take a break for a month, and the first thing back, Spurs Rockets.
Okay, most definitely. Well, Jay, thank you so much. And let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
All right. I'm gonna keep it quick. NBA Carousel Monday nights with Megan Price, J.B. Ellis, and Jennifer Matthews Lewis and the gang, and then also on the sip off with Megan Price, Jahan Phillips, Anthony Brown, catch us on there, shooting stuff and being wild and talk about some basketball. And then of course the Gauntlet podcast, that's on Saturday nights, Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. It's gonna be myself, Dom DeRugas, aka Detroit Dom, Tyler Ingram, and James Tatum. Shout out Craig Davis, shout out Marshall Hill, my Conventional Kings fam. Four Horsemen, y'all know what it is.
All right, thanks, Jay. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Brian Snow covering the Golden State Warriors this week. What's up, Brian?
To Queen of Hoop. I enjoy my conversations with thee. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we get to let you talk about Golden State this week. And I know that's exciting for you. You're a big fan of them. So, let's jump right into it.
It's been a tough week for Golden State. Double-digit loss at Milwaukee, double-digit loss against Minnesota, and they lost at Memphis. And Memphis is nothing to play around with, but the Warriors are shorthanded. Their biggest piece of the puzzle is still out for another couple of weeks in Draymond Green. Even though Klay Thompson is back, they're still missing James Wiseman at the center position. But the person who makes that go, Stephen Curry, really makes it go on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, where the Warriors have struggled in 3 of the last 4 games, it's Draymond Green, and they are missing him bad. Right. They're still within striking distance of the Western Conference lead, but Phoenix is on a roll. Memphis is breathing down their necks. It's kind of a tough time right now with Golden State.
Absolutely. Now, you brought up the games that you guys were unsuccessful with, but you had a blowout win against the Chicago Bulls. Now, Chicago Bulls were shorthanded as well. They didn't have Zach LaVine. They didn't have a couple of their other pieces, Alex Caruso, who hasn't come back yet. So let's talk about that game. What kind of statement is it that you guys can beat them 138-96?
That was a get-right game for us, for Golden State, because the Bulls are a hard-charging team. They're tops in the Eastern Conference, but there had to be a measuring stick put down. And, of course, I talk about the Bulls on my show all the time. There had to be a measuring stick put down, and that was one of those games where the Golden State and the Bulls really put on good games, but that was one where the Warriors got started early and they didn't stop until they rolled up 138 points. And to see them have 112 after 3 periods, you would get the feeling Golden State is back. They're not all the way back yet. That was one of those games. It was a chance to catch the Bulls off guard, and they did.
Absolutely. And now we've seen the Bulls, who are in the number 1 seed. So we know that they had a lot going on about them, a lot of hype going on about them. Now we saw with Zach LaVine that his injury is not as serious and they were just being cautious at that time. So I'm not sure when we'll see him back, but he had what was described as just a little bit of knee soreness. And so they just on that same knee where he's torn some ligaments before. So they wanted to be careful with him. Understandable, but that's a crazy win like that by that amount. So now this week, you guys are going to have it's an easier week compared to last week where you just you had Milwaukee, you had Chicago, you had the Memphis Grizzlies, who seem to have your number, and it would be a matchup nightmare come Western Conference Finals, because that's who I'm calling it as of right now, who I think is going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. But this week, you guys play the Pistons tomorrow. You play the Pacers on Thursday, the Rockets on Friday, and then you finish out your week playing the Jazz.
We got 3 get-right games in front of the Utah Jazz game. It's a chance for Golden State to heal and really get themselves back together. We still don't have a timetable on Wiseman as of yet. Draymond Green's being called out for the next 2 weeks with that calf injury. And one of the things against Cleveland, and I know you saw it, he started the game, but then he took an immediate foul and went out for the rest of the game because he wanted to be on the floor. And I believe that was last Sunday when Klay Thompson returned. Even though they have Klay Thompson back, they're missing Draymond Green. So we have yet to see all 3 of them together. In a couple of weeks, we should. But these are 3, even minus Draymond Green, these are 3 get-right games for us after having a gauntlet last week. And people got to remember, Golden State has played short-handed all year. These games are not different.
Right, very much so. So if you were to, obviously we know the Jazz is going to be the toughest game, but following that, you have a little stretch where you play the Mavericks and you also play the Timberwolves. So out of the Jazz, the Mavericks, and the Timberwolves, which one is the game that you want to circle on your calendar and say, this is a must-watch game?
It's Utah. It's Utah with the people that they have, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and everyone that's helping that team. Utah has been a matchup nightmare for us because of their size and because of how they love to beat people up in the paint. And this is where we miss James Wiseman. And in many cases, this is where we miss Draymond Green, just manning the paint and keeping Gobert away from the basket. The Jazz, as we know, great on the inside because of their length, because of their size. Lately, they haven't been using it a lot, but I would suspect they would try to go to their strength a lot, with Golden State being very shorthanded.
Right, which I still expect Mitchell to have a really big game, but also, besides Rudy Gobert, they have Rudy Gay, who is also 6'10". Now he is a little lighter than he used to be. He used to be power forward size. Now he's a small forward size, but still can back up Gobert as well. So, that size there in the lane is going to be an issue for Golden State for sure.
It's been an issue for Golden State for the past 6 to 7 years. They've been able to counter it with Zaza Pachulia, with Andrew Bogut for many years, and of course James Wiseman, the fabulous rookie who's now in his 2nd year. And Wiseman should be ready to go by the Utah game, but we got to use the 3 in front of it to really, really heal and get right and get everybody in position. Because while Draymond Green is out, another playmaker has got to step forward for Golden State.
Absolutely agree. And if you had to pick who you think it's going to be that playmaker, who do you think it would be?
In all seriousness, it would be Andre Iguodala. Iguodala can float on the inside and the outside. He's got that veteran presence. He's got a jump shot. They don't need the jump shot, but they use it when necessary. But if you want a calm, steadying presence, both on and off the court right now with this tough stretch, it's got to be Andre Iguodala.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will see you back next week.
Indeed. Snowman in the Morning is your show that gets your sports day started at 11 a.m., but there's a time change coming after the Super Bowl. I'll let y'all know what that time change is on Friday, but you can catch me 11 a.m. on YouTube Monday through Friday. It's the fastest 2 hours in sports radio.
Thank you so much, Brian. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Jacob Christner covering the Kings.
Hey, how do you my room, by the way, with a little switch around?
I like it.
I backed against the wall. I was kind of like Dak in a final playoff drive.
Oh my gosh. You see, I'm wearing Rangers gear. I'm wearing my only team that really has any hope this season, that made some off-season moves. I cannot talk about the Cowboys yet.
Well, no, let me put it to you this way. If the whole strike keeps going on or the lockout keeps going on, they might play just as much as the Cowboys.
Yeah, correct. I think they'll figure it out before the season starts, but we shall see.
Oh, I got a laugh out of Nelly Nell talk. I saw him just before. I kind of got a little laugh saying what he's on, and it was last time it was with you. So I'm getting a good guess that you're going to get his first really big check when he gets a contract.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. So let's talk about the Kings. You guys had a little bit of a difficult week, but you did catch a few wins. You beat the Lakers this week. That's big. You lost to the Cavaliers. Go ahead.
Nah. I don't know how big now or to lose. They're kind of irrelevant now.
Well, you know what? They're still in the play-in tournament contention, and so you still have to think. And no matter what happens, LeBron is over there. LeBron is playing well. Do I think he can do it alone? Obviously not. We're seeing that pass. But, for a team of what y'all have going on to be able to beat the Lakers, I think that, that's something that y'all put on y'all's back and you say, hey, we did that,
Well, the Kings are – the biggest thing about the Kings, and I'll tell you this, there is a situation where Gentry's doing it right. Alvin Gentry has a situation where he's got a bunch of kids that haven't learned how to win yet. And he's not trying to pile and I'm not saying I like losses, okay? They're 18-27 right now. 18-28, excuse me. Mm-hmm. But they're like one game from the final 10th spot.
Okay.
All you need, they're not trying to get 6, they're trying to get 10. The thing is, he's kind of doing what Pittsburgh should have done last night with the game. Like I was talking about, you knew what I meant. Just try to 1-2 chunk. You don't have anything else. Hopefully you get like TJ Watt got, and then you just hold him. That's when you don't have anything else. You got to do what you got to do. That's kind of what what I was saying they should have done all night is exactly what Alvin Gentry's kind of doing right now. Would he love to win every game? Of course he would. He's 67 years old. Been in the league for a billion. He's been in the league, but he also knows these kids. He also knows these kids. Obviously, got to Halliburton. You've got all of these. You've got kids that are very, very, very talented. But where's the? I mean, at least he knows it himself. Where's the chemistry? Right. So now he's trying to build them. They're like number 10, number 9, and get yourself into that. Get yourself into that play-in game, and you never know. And you build up, and it's like really, like I said, this is a thing Pittsburgh should have done last night. Sometimes you have to chunk away. And beating the Lakers was a nice play. I said they're irrelevant, and in a certain way, of course, it's LeBron. But I mean, beating them used to be an amazement. But when you get a 2 for 14 now of Russ, from 3-point range when he's left wide open, it's like, what do you do? So
right. You know what I saw that I liked out of the Lakers game with you guys is y'all had, let me see, 1, 2, 3. Y'all had 6 players in double digits. Now you had Darren Fox who had 29 points, and that's what you expect out of him. Either him, Bagley's had a few good games. Maybe Harrison Barnes has a big game like that, who also had 23 points. But we had Halliburton who had 14 and 10. Matu had 14 points, Buddy Hield had 10 points. And so to me, that just shows, team effort, ball movement. And I know ball movement is something that you and I have talked about.
Oh, and that's how I love that. That's what part that I do love it. They actually did quite a bit to start with Chris when when Gentry out with, and So no, it's like they started the ball movement thing a little bit, but one of the things you brought up, you brought up Bagley, you brought up Hield. They've been in the trade talks with the possibility to the thing with the Philadelphia. I was bringing that up long before.
Right.
And it's like, I was bringing it up long before, and it's like, the thing is, if Sacramento would win that, that's when you know they're ready to be a real contender. If you're ready to get in with the big, because here's the thing, Ben Simmons is still a big name.
Yes,
even if he would be more for next year, truthfully. It's a little late. You don't have the reps anymore. I'm sorry, he's not going to get a thing. So if you're not going to go up to a number 4 seed automatically if you get him. And it's like he's for this late in the year now. Regardless, he's a next year if you can get the thing. But I mean, here's the thing though: is like really you got nice names in Sacramento. You got nice names, but here's the deal: you split with Houston, who's not a good team. You split with the Lakers, not a good team. You're winning, and see, the thing is, you get to the point sometimes where you win games that you were supposed to win, but then you don't.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like you don't, and it's like it's one step forward, one step back. Really. And they lost 5 in a row before that, and then you get your butt kicked by a team like the Nuggets.
Right, and the Nuggets, as Cool has said many times, is a true 500 team. They're winning some certain games, but then they're dropping games where you're kind of scratching your head going, what happened, because they have the reigning MVP on their team, but they are injured, but they still have Aaron Gordon. So, they have some working to do. Now, you guys will be playing the Pistons on Wednesday, and then you play the Bucks on Saturday, bringing them up. And then you play the Celtics on Tuesday. So, which obviously the Bucks is going to be the toughest game. But do you think that Celtics matchup is going to be anything?
That's a winnable game.
Okay, and then I agree.
They're a winnable game regardless of where you are. It's like, I like Ime Udoka. I really do. But it's like, this is a first year of, it's like just finding out that you have no chemistry on that team.
Right.
And this is the point where what's going to have to happen in Boston, I'm just going to use this before I go to my team here. What they're going to have to do in Boston is they're going to have to do what the whiners and complainers on Twitter, what I call emotional nitwits. But what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to do what they keep talking about and break up their people. They'll be like, break them up, blah, blah, blah. And then when it does happen, they'll cry for a month. Pretend that they've never said it. But it might be necessary. It's like, it might be necessary. Like, okay, you're going to get clobbered.
And so for this game, for it to be winnable for Sacramento, what do you think has to happen?
The ball movement. But because ball movement, playmaking, the one thing about Celtics, I do not absolutely notice they love shooting. They don't keep the ball long. Do not keep the ball long. It's like, it doesn't feel like anybody's in any real position. So it's like, keep the ball movement, spread it out. Really go, I mean, even as the old school as we can really get. But as far as Detroit, you might just play their game. I don't know what their game is. they're learning themselves. But, when you get a team with the Sacramento and you get like Detroit and they're not very good teams, it might be – and let me give you a little thing. It comes to my head. When you get teams that aren't that good, those are the teams you might want – but remember they're talking about like they have the Field of Dreams Classics for baseball. Now they're thinking of having the street hoops kind of thing for NBA.
Right.
Those type of teams, don't put the big names. Get those type of teams on the street hoops.
Right.
They're not that great, but they love playing and they love showing themselves. Those are the ones you want to put for that. And I think that can be with Cade Cunningham, and you get Cade Cunningham and you get those guys, and they're a new type of league and a new type of people. Those would be the types that you want to get. And that can be sort of an exciting game outside of the mistakes.
Right. Now, I think with Boston, an area that they have been soft in for a couple of years now is their center position. Now, I don't know how.
Do centers exist anymore?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know they have Cantor back, I believe, but and I'm not a Tristan Thompson fan. I think he's awful. So I'm glad they were able to move on from him. But you guys also kind of have some center issues as well. So do you trust either one of your centers to be able to deal with Enes?
No, really. In truth, no. But when you bring up center, and this is the thing, when you bring up center in this type of age, it's like everybody shoots a three.
Right.
There's a post. Who fights for rebounds? Who really just digs and digs? I mean, mind you, they might get a rebound and it falls right into them. But who digs?
I mean, and this goes to your point about Ben Simmons. He does.
This is why people are making fun of him right now. Is why I keep making his name. Because
right, and he's really a guard, or that's where what he was over at the Sixers. And I mean, and that's fine too, because his numbers to me are very similar to Chris Paul's. Chris Paul's not, when they call him the point guard, to me, he's not the point guard. He's not putting up a ton of points. He puts up a ton of assists. And, Ben Simmons is good at that too. He's able to facilitate that. But yes, I see Ben Simmons fighting on both sides of the court, offensive and defensive rebounds.
Oh no, that's the point. I say this about you. Thank you for bringing up Ben Simmons, because that's the one thing I do like. I said rebounds, and I've said he steals, and he takes the ball. And it's like, and especially when you've get him to a team with shooting, who wants to shoot. There are many teams out there with players that there's no shyness in shooting.
Right.
None.
Right.
Zilch. So there's not a need. Put him there.
Right.
Don't shoot. We have 4 people that are alone that want to shoot. Our center wants to shoot.
Right.
It's like, facilitate the ball. Okay, you can be Dennis Rodman. You can be the Dennis Rodman of the day. Just passing instead of the rebounding.
True. Very true.
And
if they could just cater to what he feels good about, that'll bring his confidence back. And his shot, while I don't ever think he's going to be a fantastic shooter, he's not going to be scared to take the dunk compared to a layup that he ended up missing in a high pressure situation. That's not, he's not going to feel that way. He's not going to feel that nervous when you guys have already kind of catered to his needs. Well, definitely good luck on your games this week, Jacob, and let everybody know.
Just real quickly though, off my team for a second, in my opinion, Pop's the one that he needs to go to.
Yeah, and I have thought about that, because we've heard rumors about him going to San Antonio. I don't know necessarily how I feel about that. We have a ton of guards on our team already. So I don't know what role he would fit in, but I would love to step it up on defense. And in my opinion, Ben Simmons was he was my defensive player of the year last year. So I don't hate it, but I don't know if I love it.
Well, just think of it before we go. I'm sorry about that. I keep you with my mouth here, But here's the thing. I always like to use my space and time to think a little differently. That's why the pundit's pundit, Mm-hmm. The thing about it is, it's not just the game. If we wanted to just go with the game, because we'll go with numbers,
Right.
And the biggest thing I think about with Simmons, if he was to go with Pop, it's Pop goes out to dinners and all the time, and gets him into wine, gets him into that stuff. Maybe go out to different spots. You know what I mean? So those are the things. So it's like, I think that would be the best for him to help him grow up.
Okay. I don't necessarily hate it. I'm definitely not against it. So it would be an interesting dynamic. We will see what happens with him. Maybe something will happen by the trade deadline. But thank you, Jacob, so much. And let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Well, you see me here Mondays, and then I am published in Inscriber magazine.
Okay.
I'm published in Inscriber magazine, a couple different things. I'm also in Substack, and I'm in Ricochet, and a bunch of different shows with the Sideline Sports. So a bunch of that. Now enjoy Cool.
Thank you so much, Jacob. We'll see you when the next time you're able to come on.
Take care.
Absolutely. All right, guys. As Jacob alluded to, we have our last rep. We have Cool McCain covering the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh, the champ. He's here. How are you doing?
Hey, even though we lost, I just want to remind everybody, the champs are here.
I understand it. I thought about putting on my Dak jersey, but I haven't dealt with it yet. So I'm gonna stick with the Rangers tonight. And I
had a few more hours, so I went ahead and wore mine.
I feel you. I'm not over it just yet. Well, let's talk about Milwaukee. In the beginning of the show, I had Will on, who is the Charlotte Hornets rep, and you guys actually got swept by them this season. So let's talk about the Hornets. What do you think the problem is with that matchup right there? And then we'll move on to the other games.
They're young, they're long, and they're hungry. And Milwaukee doesn't always play for 4 quarters consistently, as you saw. Well, anybody who watched the game tonight saw. They let fourth quarter Trey do his thing and caught another L from another young team who's long and athletic.
Right.
That's the one challenge that Milwaukee has during the regular season. I think sometimes some of your better teams, you get bogged down a little bit with the rigmarole of the regular season, so you don't always show up and do your A game. You should. We want teams to, but they just don't. They're humans. So I think that possesses it's that one team that's really difficult for, Milwaukee the last few seasons. But unfortunately for Golden State, they played Milwaukee the next game, and we definitely took out some frustrations on Golden State.
Absolutely. That score was 118-99. And we've seen Giannis just really be on top of his game, but he actually in that game, he went for a triple-double. He had 30 points, 11 assists, and 12 rebounds. So talk to me about what Giannis has been doing these last few weeks.
Giannis is Giannis every game. I mean, a couple of bad threes you don't want him to take, but very dominant when he decides to be. When that mean streak comes out a little bit and you see him get a little growl and kind of be more aggressive, you just see him just be one of the best players in the NBA. And there are some times in those same games where you say, Giannis, that's not the shot for you, dude. Let's take it inside. Let's make the pass. But sometimes he overpasses. And this is, I think, honestly, a league-wide thing. If you're driving to the hole and you have a shot, do not throw the ball back out to the three-point line. Shoot the floater or the layup or dunk it. Right. That's what we need to see all these guys start doing a little bit more of. Giannis is definitely guilty of that as well. But, I mean, when he's on, he's a dominant player. He's probably the most difficult player to guard outside of Kevin Durant when he's on.
And this is where I would say my criticism come in of Budenholzer, because I feel like this is something that if you had a more successful coach, even though, I realize he's got a championship, but in my opinion, they won that in spite of him. I don't know who or what finally got him to adjust to the Phoenix Suns. He did successfully, but he doesn't stand out as the best coach to me. So, let's just say he was playing for Popovich, like taking the floater, taking the 2-pointer is always going to be a part of the game plan when it comes to Popovich's game. So much so that we're not always in the talk about the 3-pointers unless we have somebody like DeMar or Kawhi on the team, Patty Mills, Manu. Those were great 3-point shooters. But if we don't have that, we're guaranteed going for the 2 some way.
Yeah, I think we definitely share that opinion that they won in spite of him and not because of him. Not a knock. He's still the coach that won. He still made the adjustments, but there's a lot of questionable things that he did last year, and he's repeating a lot of those things this year. They're having lineups where they have Giannis in there with Grayson Allen, Dante DiVincenzo, Wesley Matthews, and Pat Connaughton. That's not an effective lineup. That's not a lineup that can rebound the ball. That's not a lineup that has enough size to compete with teams like Atlanta and Charlotte. That's why we have trouble with those teams. They're young, long, they defend well, and they're more athletic when you put in certain lineups. He's not really good at saying, okay, for this game, because of the team that we're playing, some of these guys have to play different minutes or there have to be different rotations. He puts the same rotations out for the most part, and they work or they don't. So that's something that I think another coach would change, and I also think another coach would challenge Giannis more and say, you're the best player on the team. You need to go out there and lead the team. You don't lead the team from the 3-point line. It's okay if you take them every once in a while. If you got Portis in there with you, or you got another big in there, a rebounder. If you're the only rebounder in the game, you don't shoot threes, sir. And that's something I think he doesn't challenge him.
And so you have a couple of big games coming up this week. You have the Grizzlies on Wednesday, and then you have the Bulls on Friday, which I think the Bulls will be down Zach LaVine. I don't think he'll be in the game. Obviously, we haven't heard anything about Alex Caruso yet, so he won't be in that game either. I think this Grizzlies matchup is where we see what Milwaukee is made of. They're super hot right now. They have Golden State's number, and in my opinion, Golden State's the best team in the league when they're at 100%. So what do you think has to be y'all's game plan in order to beat Memphis?
Well, we have to see if we get Drew back, because he's been out with the ankle injury. So that's affecting some things as well, because he has a lot of size at the point guard position. We're missing that. But even if we don't have him, it's about being aggressive. It's about pushing the pace. when you have the correct lineups and to do so. And it's about taking smart shots. It's about saying, you know what, the three sexy when they go in 40% of the time, but the layup, the short jump shot, the floater, they go in at a much higher clip. Let's get those points because we're playing a young team who's going to run on us when we have certain lineups in, and they have to be aggressive and active defensively. This is where you're going to miss a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, who brings a little bit of that edge, a little bit of the defensive presence, even if it's only 10, 15 minutes a game. So this is a game where you need all hands on deck. The role players are going to have to put in 5, 10 points. You know, you're just going to have to be aggressive. You're going to have to play hard defense when you're out there. And you're going to have to change the rotations. Who knows? Change the freaking rotations. Help your team.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Good luck on your games this week. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will see you back next week.
Absolutely. Of course, here on Monday nights, on Thursday nights from the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price. I'm just going to say in friends for time purposes. Also, Play Call Sports Talk, Interactive Sports Talk on Friday nights. And you can also find me on other shows on the Sideline Network from time to time.
Thank you so much, Cool. We will see you next week.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up this week. But I just want to remind everybody that the NBA Carousel is a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, Manscaped, and is the sports section on the Inscriber online magazine. Thank you all for watching, guys.